I can't tell you how many tracks I've made over the years that just got like denied and denied and denied and denied, and it's like you said, you're like, all right, well, I'm gonna start my own thing then. And honestly, like, those failures really set you up for, if you're strong enough to push through it, and that's the point, is to not get discouraged and just keep fighting for what you really believe in.
So about 3 months ago, my friend Tom hit me up looking for some editing work because he had some really big news that he was looking to share with the world, and he wanted my help to do that. So we got to talking, and he basically told me his plans, which were to quit his job and move to Ibiza. Now, if you know me at all, you know that when someone tells me they plan on quitting their job to follow their passion, I love it. And naturally, I had a ton of questions, so I thought that he would be perfect to come on and just talk with me for about an hour and just let me ask him all his questions and just hear about all of his recent successes. And I have to say, the conversation was absolutely awesome. So sit back and enjoy this conversation about Tom Greco. Also, I'll put a bunch of links in the description below, so feel free to check those out. I definitely recommend following Tom on Instagram and subscribing to his YouTube channel, because I can almost guarantee you that he is going to have a ton of awesome content coming out as he travels through Europe and just travels in general. He is all over the place, just doing awesome stuff. So definitely check him out and enjoy this conversation. Okay, so I am joined in the studio, in Greco's studio here in Long Island.
Strong Island, bro. Strong Island.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I haven't. I worked with you, what, back in like almost a year ago.
I think it was about a year
for
now.
those shows.
Yeah.
So what have you been up to?
A lot since then. Those were around the time when we first started working together. We started doing those shows. It was at Cielo and Flash Factory with Todd Terry and Low Steppa, which were incredible influences for me and my record label. So it was special to have you there, and I think like the way that you captured those videos were phenomenal. So like right now, since then I've been just trying to focus on the record label, the blog site, Spira, and we also have our management company now that we've started in the meantime as well. And we've got a couple other things in the works, you know, at its infancy, but primarily just trying to make sure that I'm like, you know, making a lot of music, making sure that my quality is constantly stepping up. It's like anything, like, you know, you just want to make sure that you're progressing. So ultimately I wanted to, you know, I was 29 last year. I'm about 2 weeks away from turning 30, so like this year has been definitely the most strenuous and hard-working year of my life. I kind of approached 29 like that also, which maybe you have too. It's like when you hit that number, at 25 I hit a number and I moved from Florida to New York, back to New York. So with that, I kind of took everything a little bit more serious. So within the last year, yeah, things have kind of stepped up. There's been a lot of really big deals that have been happening, you know, like I mean, it's just so crazy. Like, honestly, I can't believe all the stuff that's happened in the last year. It's kind of overwhelming to go over it right now, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I've always kind of viewed, like, our age is like, I always kind of like had in my head that the age 28 is like, basically between like 28 and 34 is like the prime, of like our lives.
Right.
So like, just like you said, like, you're right. Like, as I started to approach 28, I was like, oh my God, like, am I where I want to be? Like, am I making moves that are going to impact like the rest of my life?
Right.
And I was 28 and I wasn't. So I kind of was like, I don't want to go into 30 looking like that. So
shift gears a little bit.
Yeah, so I understand. Yeah. So basically, so what, you're turning 30 in...
I'm turning 30 in like 12 days.
12
so
days.
Yeah, the countdown has officially begun.
Nice.
And yeah, so I mean, for back to 28, it's funny you say that. At 28, when I was maybe like 21, 22, you know, you try to project what you want your life to kind of become, you know, later on, like 5-10 years later. So like my ideal situation at 28 was to have a house, to, you know, like be settled down, have things figured out. And like I don't try to pressure myself too much. I don't think you should do that as an individual, you know, in general. You shouldn't put too much pressure on the details. So as long as you see that progress happening over time and that you're doing something that you're passionate and like really love to do. So for me, I thought all these things were gonna happen, and like part of me was a little disappointed that they didn't, you know, because like owning a house is like a big, you know, for societal, concerning society, that's kind of like ideal, having a house, having, you know, a wife and kids and all these things, and that was something that I was definitely really focused on. But over time, it's just been like one of those things where you get into it more and more. And for me, at least, like that was, you know, like going into the music industry and trying to make sure that, you know, I was gonna set myself up to do something that I really love for the rest of my life. Things tend to change, so you can't really hold on to things too firmly like that. So at 28, you know, I hit 28. I noticed I was still here in the studio, but I was content. I was happy. You know, I was making strides at like what I really wanted to do. And my old manager actually used to tell me the same thing. He's like, don't worry about the details. As long as you're doing what you love and you see progress happening, that's the main thing. Like whether you're a year behind or 5 years behind or 10 years behind, at least you're doing it. At least you're trying. You know, that's ultimately what, you know, you can't really be too hard on yourself when it comes to that kind of stuff. So as long as you're practicing your passion, I think is the most important thing. Everything else will kind of fall into place after that.
You know, like I know it's quite cliche, but like if every day is better than the last day, every week's better than the last week, every month,
you're doing something right.
It's like you're going up. And you know, like you said, I think it's really important that like you have to allow yourself and your goals to change, because like technology changes, like mindsets changes. So like just because you're 21 and thought you wanted a house at 28, it's like now you're not. And which, let's segue to the next point. What are you doing now at 20, at 30? Like what's the big news?
At 30, all right. So I mean, I pretty much decided to quit my job over the summer, and I'm still there. I'm still working, but I decided to quit the job and really take the leap of faith and try out the music thing full time. And my plans are to move to Ibiza and just do the summer. Do about 3 or 4 months out there, do a lot of networking, make a lot of music. I mean, that's ultimately what I've always wanted to be able to do. Is I work a 9-to-5 job like most people, and you know, it really cuts into a lot of my creativity, because every day that I come home from work, I'm exhausted. I want to go to the gym. I want to, you know, I got to get paperwork done or whatever. So the creativity part of it, or the creative part of it, has always kind of taken, you know, the back seat, you know, to other things that were a little bit more pressing. I feel like I did a decent job at keeping my output pretty high, but this year has been pretty heavy as far as like owning my own business and starting the record label and taking care of artists. I mean, we have something like 40 artists, I believe, on Rawsome at this point, and then we have probably like 200 artists roughly for Spira. So I mean, the workload is just continually grown. So I guess for me at 30 is like me taking that next step. You know, it's the next chapter pretty much of my life. At 25, I moved back to New York to take the music thing more seriously, to go and study at school, and take like the proper classes to get better at music production. And then, you know, at 30, it's pretty much, you know, the last 5 years were really heavily dedicated to improving and getting better. And in 2014, I opened up Spira, and Spira allowed me to really see the music industry in a different way, because I was at the position, I wasn't really at the point where I could really help other people, but I made it a point to do that regardless of what it was going to do for me. Like, it didn't matter. I just wanted to share good music. That was ultimately the main driving force behind everything that's really happened within the last 2 years, because Spira was the first. So
and just to interrupt for a sec, so Spira's a blog, correct?
Spira's, it's pretty much a music blog or a channel or a radio station that we pretty much just dedicated to definitely electronic dance music specifically, but it was very geared towards helping nurture and expose young talent that were showing, you know, signs of improvement, like we were just going over. Like, I notice a lot of these same traits in other artists that I deal with around the world. So like all these different artists are showing me like the same kind of aspirations, the same kind of workflow and work ethic that I also try to put into my music. And you know, it's been one of the greatest things for me is to actually be able to like see all these young artists growing in the last 2 years, that we've helped them kind of establish a little bit more of a following on the internet and on SoundCloud and Spotify and things like that. So for me, it's almost like, you know, I've created almost like this father figure for like all these younger artists, because when it wasn't that long ago where it was impossible for me to get, you know, 100 plays for a song or like 100 views on a video or something, and it just takes a lot of patience and hard work, and I had to bust my ass like all day and like hit up so many people directly just to get like those few views or whatever. So over time, you know, I was able to build up like the music blog, Spira, and at this point I think we have like somewhere close to 35,000 followers, and it just still continues to grow. And I've had to bring on a buddy of mine, Zach, that's out in Orlando, and he's been a great help because he's actually taken the reins and taken this blog and giving it the proper attention that it really needs right now. Because now that I'm doing Rawsome, it's like, you know, it's a toss-up. It's like like I'm juggling 8 different things at once. So back to turning 30 and what I'm planning to do is like I'm learning how to delegate a little bit more. I'm bringing back my managerial skills from like learning in school and trying to apply that to my business structure that I've got going on right now. And it's actually working out really good. My plan is to, before I move to Ibiza in June, is to pretty much have everybody, you know, positioned and stable and knowing what they're doing and everything, you know, is I don't have to micromanage anymore. I can make sure everybody's doing their stuff, and that'll allow me to just focus on the future and focus on the big picture. And that's ultimately what I feel like I need to really focus on at this point. And moving to Ibiza is really going to allow me to be in my element more, and that's something that I've never been able to do in my entire life. I'm 30 years old.
Yeah.
I've loved music my whole life. It took me this long to really have the courage and the confidence, really, like in my skills, to take that and bring it to the next level and turn that chapter and head out there. And
so was there like a specific point that you decided to make the decision, or was it something you thought about all along?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's definitely something that I've dreamed about my entire life. It's such an infatuating dream that like I could never get.
So there wasn't like one thing that happened, like where it's like a light kind of clicked and you were like, I'm going to Ibiza. You just kind of was.
I just knew it from the start, man. Like as soon as I started listening to dance music when I was really young.
Yeah.
So my brother's about 38. I'm turning 30. So he was in the clubs in New York, and he would bring back like mix CDs from like Exit and Sound Factory in the city. I'd go wind up like taking them from him or listening to them in the car with him. And that, like, I fell in love with dance music, like, right from the get-go. Like, even my dad was, like, into disco records back in the day in Studio 54. So, like, I loved the feeling that dance music gave me. And I was a martial artist. I was gymnast. I was very active, high energy. So, like, this music, like, kind of worked really well with, like, the way that I lived my life. So
yeah. And so, basically, so you started producing at, what, 25, you said, or...
I've been producing for a long time. I tried making music since I was probably like 11 or 12, like with the PlayStation Music Maker on the PS1. So like literally just taking little riffs and like just blocking them together, little loops pretty much.
Yeah.
And just the satisfaction of being able to like taking these riffs and these little loops and like creating them and putting them into like this order and creating a song out of it, that like hooked me right away. I was like, this is so cool to be able to create something like that. Even though it wasn't necessarily like unique, it was still unique to me and very elementary. It was, you know, simple enough for a young kid to kind of understand. Like anyone could have easily gotten on that game and done exactly what I did.
Yeah.
So it was very easy to get introduced to it, but then it like I quickly realized like this is like making real music is definitely not like putting loops together and stuff like that back on the PlayStation. Right, and you could and there's different levels of music production, I think, and especially right now it's so saturated, so it makes it even more of a point and more important that you take the extra time to make it not seem like loop based and things like that.
So I guess my question is basically, like, when do you consider having gotten like serious, and how long has that taken you to get to the point you are at today?
Definitely 25.
So so basically you're saying it took you from 25 to 30, and basically
to really apply myself.
Yeah, and your timeline is touring. Within 5 years, basically, you've toured, you've started your own record label, your own blog, all this stuff, and now you're moving to Ibiza.
Yeah.
So that's fucking awesome.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Honestly, like, I've followed in the footsteps of a lot of people that have inspired me as well. So I just hope I can literally do the same for other people, because music's helped me out of like so many dark times. Like, I can't tell you how many people I've had the same discussion with, where they were going through some shit in their life and they're like really down, or even high points in life. Music has the magic. It's like very magical that it can lift your spirits up. You have something, you get a good grade on a test, and like you go out and you listen to music, it amplifies your emotion, your happiness.
Yeah, I mean, it literally releases endorphins.
Right, exactly. So like the same thing goes for like when you're sad and you're going through some pain. Like, listening to a track, hearing an artist emote those sort of, that similar feeling to you, it's comforting, you know. It makes you realize that you're not alone. So like throughout my entire life, I love being alone. Like, that's exactly why I do what I do, you know. Like, I need that alone time to be creative and to expand on what I love. So with that, it's like, you know, with the music industry, I really love, you know, doing all this stuff. So I try to practice it as much as possible. But going back to like, you know, like the 5 year span, I didn't really have a specific, you know, timeline. I just wanted to get there as soon as possible, because like as I got older, I started realizing more and more, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. Sitting at a desk, working at a job that I hate every day. Casey Neistat said that, I believe, or one of these guys said that. They said, if you're not sure what you want to do in your life, go work a normal job and you'll hate your life every single day. And it forces you to just realize like what you would rather be doing during those hours. You got to remember that, like, that's what you should be doing. So I had a lot of time to reflect on like the amount of time that I needed to put into this music thing, because everybody wants to do it. It's like, it's the arts, it's entertainment, you know. It's a very fun career to be involved in, but it does take a lot of work. It takes a lot of time, just like anything else in life. But I'm really, really proud that I had the courage to kind of take it to that next step when I moved back to New York and started studying music, because I needed that proper education. I taught myself everything I knew for like maybe 10 years trying to make music, but only got so far because I didn't have a teacher. I didn't have a mentor. Everybody needs a teacher in life. You know, it helps you grow as a human being, or grow as an individual. So I was lucky enough to be able to study, and that's definitely where it took a turn. I got signed to my first record release on Nervous Records that year. I was midway through my course too. I wasn't even finished. So like the second I got signed, I was like, this is it. Like, I love what I do, and like this. So you
feeling, and it was Dubspot.
Yep.
So you attribute them for a lot of your success.
I have to give them a lot of credit, and more so for the.
Didn't they go out of business?
They went out of business, and I actually worked with a few of the old teachers there. So it's kind of funny how it went full circle. It's a shame that the school isn't there anymore, but it definitely provided me with the knowledge that allowed me to take my career to the next step. And now at this point, whenever I meet young artists that are up and coming and aspiring to make music as a career or be a DJ, I tell them the same exact thing. Like, go take a course, go to school, like, skip all the bullshit that you gotta like start teaching yourself and learn from somebody that's a professional, because it saves you so much time, and like you have that one-on-one where you can say, oh, how do I fade into this track, or how do I use this feature on a CDJ, or how do I use you know, any of this equipment, like, you have somebody to go to for all that stuff, which is, like, really important. Saves you a lot of time, and time is something that we only have a finite amount of, so you want to try to, like, you know, at least for me, you know, like, that's something that's really starting to play a role is timing.
Yeah, and like delegating, like, what's worth it to pay and what's worth it not to.
Yeah, man. So, it's crazy.
So it's pretty interesting. So what plans do you have in Ibiza? Like, do you have an apartment ready to go?
I just put the down payment on my place on Friday, and the guys that I'm staying with, they've been throwing parties out there for about 5 years, so I'm really, really fortunate to have been put in touch with these guys that are throwing parties out there already and that have a network.
Oh wow!
So I'll be pretty much like getting in there with a crew already. Not really my intention, but I'm very, very thankful and fortunate for that, and I'm even more excited for the journey now, because now I have teachers or mentors that are going to teach me the island. I've never even been to Ibiza, and I'm going to move there for like 4 months. So, you know, the more the merrier. Like, honestly, like, these guys are gonna help me out. So I'm definitely really. It helps with the confidence even more, because this is a shot. Like, I'm still taking a shot.
Yeah.
I try not to think of it like that, because, you know, it's an easy way to psych yourself out. You just gotta, like, do it.
Yeah, the more you start to, like, think about the logistics of things, the more you're gonna talk yourself out of it.
Yeah,
you just literally there's always so many reasons not to do something, and you can always find those things. And to pack your bags and move to Ibiza, you know.
It's a crazy thing, and I've been called crazy many times in my life by family members, by ex-girlfriends, and it's fine, because, like, at the end of the day, you gotta do what you really love, and none of these people will ever influence me otherwise. Like, I'll take what people say, you know, and consider it, but I'm still gonna wind up doing what I want to do.
Yeah. So Ibiza is, like, basically, like, for those people who don't know, I mean, it's basically like the #1 like DJ spot ever.
Absolutely.
And so basically, I guess Ibiza kind of runs from like May through like late September. So that's kind of
even in October now. It's pretty crazy. It just keeps expanding, man.
And so you're basically gonna do like a summer out there, and then so what have you thought about your plans after? You're gonna move?
Plans after, I would love to move. Well, I'm definitely coming back to New York. New York is always going to be home base, because I feel like I have a very important purpose here.
Does anybody live in Ibiza all year round?
Yeah, there are. There's definitely some people that live in Ibiza all year round. As far as DJs go, I'm not really entirely sure. Just because, like, DJs want to be located in a place that's, you know, a bigger port.
Yeah.
Ibiza is a very small port, so a lot of artists tend to live in Germany and Berlin. A lot of artists live in London, of course. We have a lot of artists here in New York, California. But for me personally, I feel like, you know, a lot of the legendary DJs like Louis Vega, Kenny Dope, Todd Terry have all been supporting me over the last 5 years since I moved back to New York. And I feel a very strong purpose to keep that legacy going, you know, that they worked so hard to establish and to create and to pave a path for pretty much every DJ that's playing right now, whether you're into more commercialized music or you're into the most underground music. All came from guys like Frankie Knuckles and Larry Levan, and even further back than that, like, you go into the disco days, like, go to jazz, like, all these musical genres, like, really played a big role in the forming of electronic dance music, and more so just the culture of the music. It was, you know, it broke down barriers. It was a shot heard around the world. That's not a really common case for phenomena in the world. So the music industry was, you know, I went through like a whole disco sucks era where, like, you know, I forget what radio station, but they blew up a bunch of disco records in the middle of like a baseball field, and it kind of just like depopularized dance music and disco. So, like, it became this like taboo sort of thing where, they started going into like basements and underground parties, and that's really where house music was born. Was just like a bunch of random like people from different cultures and backgrounds all just coming together because they were loving the music. And I guess it kind of played into like the coolness of it too, because it was exclusive like that. It wasn't mainstream, and for a lot of people that felt lost and kind of disconnected from society, it was a place to feel like you were at home. So
what's like your favorite place that you've played so far?
Wow. It's so hard to say, because like my greatest aspiration for music, or to make music, was to also travel. Mm-hmm. And like I think it's it's all about appreciation in life. So for me, like, I appreciate every place that I go equally, the same as as going to Ibiza, or I've been to Amsterdam, I've been to the UK before, and like all these places play like such a huge role in like what I'm trying to do. If I had to like pinpoint it, like I would have to say Amsterdam is definitely one of my favorites right now. We threw our first Rossum party out there and sold out a boat party on our first time throwing something like that. So that was really inspiring, and it motivated me to say, okay, like we got something here. Like we were able to like throw together a party within like 2 months, completely sell it out.
Yeah. And
the experience from it, like, was talked about for an entire year, that we came back, hosted another party, and sold out again. So like that's 2 years in a row we've been hosting parties in Amsterdam.
So how have you been able to like expand your reach over there? Like, do you have any like strategies, or?
Well, it's just we're living in the internet age, so everything in the music industry is all transferred over the web. So I can collaborate with people in Amsterdam and be like, yo, let's get on a track. Cool, I'll send you some stems, and it's just like that. So it's very easy to access certain markets because of your ability to network with these people over the internet.
Yeah.
So like music is one of those things. It don't matter if I know who you are, but if I listen to your music, it's like if you listen to David Bowie, or you listen to Prince, or you listen to any of those guys, you didn't really know them. You didn't hang out with them or anything, but these guys you kind of like you learn to know through their music. So with that, we're pretty much just going over and making music between two parties, and with the record label and the blog, it allowed me to really expand and meet a lot of people around the world. Again, it just goes back to Spira. I mean, Spira was definitely like where it really started to where I realized what kind of potential I had running a blog and being a tastemaker. Because I used to always send out my music to other people, and they'd be like, oh, we don't think it fits, or blah, blah, blah. Whatever the case may have been. There's like tons of rejection that you get in any kind of art or art form. So with that, I was like, who are they to tell me what's good or not? That's just a matter of opinion.
Yeah.
Music is a very abstract, subjective sort of art form. It's not tangible. Mm-hmm. You can't feel it or touch it, only in record form, which is like also the beauty about vinyl records, is the fact that it's tangible.
Yeah.
Get to carry something. It's like a memento. So with the digital age, it's like, it's something that you can't feel, you can't touch. So with that, like with all these guys that I'm working with around the world, it's just become really cool and really great to see like all these guys kind of like benefiting from us as like a whole, not just me, but like all the other blogs that kind of like help uplift like new up and coming talent. I think it's a very nice community. It's a very nurturing community, dance music. I mean, I can't really speak for other genres of music, but I used to work for radio stations back in the day, and I've met country artists that are super, super nice. Mm-hmm. I've also met country artists that are complete assholes. And I've also met EDM artists that are complete assholes, and I've met, 9 times out of 10, incredible people. Like, very, very kind and very, very inspiring people that I've come to know in just the few years that I've been working in this market. And when you start to meet more people like that, you just gravitate more and more towards like this industry that I'm finding myself, you know, like quitting my job and completely dedicating myself to at this point. So I'm definitely stoked, man. I mean, it's crazy to think. I still got 3 months.
Yeah.
So I got 3 months, and I know it's still going to be a really, really difficult 3 months. I try not to like get myself too psyched up, and then the wind up is you're not focused anymore. So when people ask me, "Oh, are you excited?" Yeah, I'm excited, but like I still got a little ways to go. So I'm like trying to keep myself grounded,
so
and
like
not get too.
Yeah.
You know.
So I don't know when this is gonna be like out, but I guess so. So
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
so right now. But right now, as we're speaking, you have 3 months left. So like, what are your like plans for like quitting, or do your like bosses know, or?
Yeah, they also in the summer. I guess this is a little personal, but I wound up breaking up with an ex-girlfriend, and that was kind of like liberating, you know, because you know I had cut a tie in a sense that was I felt wasn't really working out, so it was bringing me down a little bit. And now, you know, when you're unhappy in life, you start to reflect on those things. You're like, what can I do to change that, you know? And unfortunately, sometimes your time runs out with somebody, and you got to say, hey, you know, I've enjoyed it, I had a great time, and now you got to move past that, you got to move on. So with that, it was kind of a liberating feeling where I was like, I think I'm going to quit my job too. You know, because ultimately that I was thinking like, what else can I do to kind of make my life a little bit more suitable for considering a career in this, because I was hitting 30 soon. And I was like, if I'm going to do it, it's now or never. You know, like, I'm not going to wait on this anymore.
Yeah.
So that was pretty much it. And then after that, I was like, I think I'm going to quit my job too. And after I quit my job, I can't tell you how confident I've been feeling about the entire decision. Yeah, it's like it's a crazy decision to quit a job and not have that stability anymore, but that's what excites me about life, is the unpredictability and the spontaneity that you get out of your life when you do live in that sort of attitude where you're like, I'm just gonna do what I love, and now I'm at the point where I'm a little older. I could consider it a little bit more serious, you know, and use my business degree in a way that's gonna help me grow as an individual, and hopefully, you know, get to another point where I can start giving back more, because that's my whole purpose is to help other people, you know. And it was tough in the beginning. I always wanted to help other people, and I wound up like screwing myself because I'm always like exerting all this energy helping all these people around me, and then I'm usually not getting that energy reciprocated back.
Yeah.
So it hurt for a little while. I'm sure you've experienced stuff like that too.
Yeah, I mean, like for example, like I actually, it's funny you like did this whole blog thing, because like when I first started like making music, and I was not very good at all, especially at the start, and so I kind of had the same thought. I was like, you know what, like I can't get any blogs to post my stuff, so I'm gonna make my own blog, which I did. And then like just like you're saying, it ended up taking like so much time, and then all of a sudden like I was a blogger. I was not a musician anymore. I was a blogger. Like I was managing people and giving back. So I guess my question for you is like, how do you manage being like, how do you manage Rawsome Records, owning a blog, and like making and a successful touring DJ career?
Oh, it's like anything else, man. I mean, if you really love what you do, you just always make the time for it.
So like, do you have any like I guess like I'm asking on like a productivity like kind of thing.
Okay.
Like let's
walk
man. Through your day. Like you get home,
time management.
You get home at 6 o'clock. Like what's next? Like boom.
Well, after work, I'm usually shot. So, like, I'm usually, like, just chilling for, like, an hour or two, just relaxing. But, like, I have multiple planners that I carry around. I've got one for Rawsome. I've got one for Spira. We recently started the management company. So we're starting to represent a couple artists that we have on Rawsome. And all the artists that we represent all came from either Spira or Rawsome. So it's like we're starting to build this family, and I try to keep as organized as possible, and time management is like crucial. Yeah. So like right now I'm finding myself staying up very, very late and then having to get up early for work. So I'm usually up until like 3 or 4 in the morning and getting up at 8 in the morning. So that's how I'm handling it right now. I'm burning the candle from both ends, I guess, is what they say.
Yeah.
But
do you catch up on sleep like on the weekends, or?
I do. Like today I got a little extra sleep. But like I said, this is temporary. Like living in here, I knew was also temporary. It wasn't gonna be permanent. Like I knew I was gonna have to make some sacrifices. Whatever. Same thing like this. I don't need 8 hours sleep for now. We're gonna work with like 5 hours on average, which is whatever. And they say some of the most successful people in the world only sleep like an average of 4 hours.
Most of the most successful people.
Yeah, it's insane. But I don't necessarily want my sleep schedule to be like that. It's just, for now, that's what it's going to be like. And I project that's how it's going to be like for the rest of the time until I move in June. Yeah. So it's a little rough.
And then, so I guess, are you going to be viewing this trip to Ibiza as, are you just going to decide, I'm going to focus on Greco the artist, I'm going to catch up on some sleep and party, have some fun,
yeah.
I imagine you're not going to really...
I think a well-balanced meal. Yeah, you have to balance things as best as you can. But, it's funny, and I don't want it to seem... when I say this to you, I don't mean to say that I don't care about it. But my career, as Greco, it doesn't really take priority in my life. There's so many other things that mean more to me than just... my brand, my Greco brand, that's always been just a product of who I am. That's just a natural progression of things. What I really focus on more is obviously our family, the community that we've built over the last couple of years, almost 3 years now since I started. It was 2014. So we're going to be approaching almost 4 years since I started Spira. So with that, I'm just trying to make sure that we keep, the artists coming in and happy and pushing new talent and being on that cutting edge of the dance music scene. And that's what's really helped us and allowed us to really gain a lot of exposure and gain popularity, is because, these people know. I guess it really does play into the fact that I've gotten all these signings, and that's also some more pressure for me to go out to Ibiza and take that time to really just focus on making music now, because I feel the need to get back into making music a little bit more heavily than I used to. Just this past I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 months, because it's been very hectic with the record label, with I'm having to start doing my taxes for the for the company now, which is these are all new experiences for me, which is amazing. I love it. I've learned so much since I started the blog and since I started Rawsome. The amount of knowledge that I've gained in just music business in general is it's awesome. And it allows me to just keep improving and helping our artists, just keep, building as well. So yeah, I feel a little pressure to keep the Greco thing going. I definitely need to make some big signings. I've got a couple really exciting ones coming up this year that I'm really, really proud of. But it's just my natural hunger to keep going for more, because the music industry is so fast paced, just by the way I'm talking too. It's just tomorrow there's gonna be 8,000 more songs out, you know what I mean, and there could be a brand new artist on the come up tomorrow that just has a breakthrough record, and now they're in the scene this, and this is constant. There's so many new artists and new producers coming up from around the world. And that's also part of why I love it, is because it's it's kind of competitive, and I love competing, and not animalistic, I'll kill you kind of compete. We're friendly, this is a music industry, it's fun.
Yeah.
We like what we do.
Competitive arts is great because there's no really winners or losers, and it's competitive, but it's also collaborative at the same time. So
collaborating is huge in this industry. It's what you and I are doing, but even more so when it's we have artists. I've collaborated with artists in the UK, I've collaborated with artists in Australia and countless other places. And for me, that's it's the people, you meet so many people traveling around and making music, and I'm sure you do the same. When you're working and doing your art, you're meeting all these new people, how we met. Art brought us together, our talents and our time that we took and the investments that we've made all brought us to this point, you know, and that's inspiring just to think of that, like all this time and all that energy, and you know, that's why we're doing it, is to have moments like these and be able to, you know, quit the day job and be able to really do something that you truly enjoy on the regular. So like, I love what I do, and that's honestly why like I'm able to manage all these different things right now.
Yeah.
And I'm even more excited to see like what kind of work ethic I can fall into and set up once I have 100% focus on music. Because right now my focus is divided between work, you know, the day job, and then also the music stuff. So it gets a little overwhelming at times, but I've been through worse, I guess. You know, like, you know, I've fought through some shit in my life, like anybody else has. So like when things like this come up and tough times arise, you know it's happening because you care, number one. Like, if you didn't care, you wouldn't, you know, like tough times come around, you'd just be like, fuck it, whatever. So I mean, the fact that you care is great. Like, that's a great sign already. But like, you know, you're gonna fight through it, and there's like a light at the end of the tunnel. There's gonna be a huge success waiting for you on the other side, as long as you're willing to put in the time and like keep working at it. Because I think there's like a formula of like the amount of hard work that you do. Like you have this goal, and the only thing that's like really in the way is like the amount of hard work you're willing to put in. So like, the harder you work, the less time it's gonna take to get you there. So if you want to get there quick, you gotta put in like fucking crazy amounts of work. So I'm pretty much at that point in my life where I'm just obsessive over getting things done and like writing things down and like, you know, just making sure that I'm staying on task.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I try to stay on schedule as much as I can, but now with the record label and stuff like that, we're gonna start doing official releases on Spira pretty soon. On my birthday, actually, on March 9th, we launch a new one. So we're constantly trying to like expand and do new things. So with that, like it you know, it's a little bit more tedious with the schedule. So I've got like 3 different schedules going on. We just set up the tour, which is like 14 dates in like 2.5 months. So like in between working 9 to 5, like I'm working 50 hours a week. After Friday, I'll usually like go to the airport, fly out to wherever I gotta be, and then be back in time to go back to work on Monday. Wow. So it's just it's been a blur.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you can only do that out of love and passion. Like, that is the only driving force for someone like you.
Yeah, it's insane. I reflect on it sometimes, and I'm just like, and people ask me the same shit.
What are you doing, man?
But I really love it. Like, I get a lot of praise for it, and I appreciate that the most, because like these messages that I get on like Instagram or Facebook or all over social media is like, that's fuel to my fire.
Yeah.
Like, I love getting compliments like that, and like I make sure that I answer everybody, because it's something that, you know, these people are taking the time to like write to you and express a certain feeling. And that's exactly why I got into this, because there were a lot of times when I was younger and you're going through shit or whatever, everybody's got problems, and that was my way of coping with my problems, was music. So or video games. Video games are kind of fun. You can probably maybe see some of them. But yeah, like music was always there. So for me, getting that kind of praise from other people, or even hearing like, oh, this music like helped me through like a crappy time in my life, that's it. Like, that's the number one purpose for me making music, is to help other people.
Yeah.
So I try to make sure that, like, you know, I'm always well aware and focused on like the people of the industry more so than just the music. Because like, yeah, we got the music, but without the people making the music, it's all about the people. Like, some people say, oh, it's the music. No, it's people make the music.
Yeah.
So you gotta, like, I try to be as best as I can with like responding to people, but it gets overwhelming too. So that's why I've had to bring in other people to like help me out. And I'm in the middle of doing the same thing for Rawsome, but I want to make sure that I still have like a firm grip on everything that's happening with Ross. So maybe just like some of the managerial stuff is like things that I can have some of my friends help me with, but I still want to be very much involved with like the creativity and the vision that goes behind Rossum, because we've gotten so lucky, you know. I'm so fortunate to have had all those like opportunities come our way, like with the record B blowing up, and then Klangkünstler from Germany doing the remix and hitting number 3 and getting recognized by Billboard, and all these things are like starting to, you know, now I want a Grammy, you know what I mean? Like I'm ready to just take it to the next step, you know?
Yeah.
So it's
do they
all
give
like,
out Grammys for
electronic music? Yeah.
Yeah. Do they who
Well, this past year Louis Vega was he was nominated for like best contemporary remix or something like that. Then they also have like that best dance or pop record. Shame on me. I should. Cola was actually Camel Fat. They were nominated. I'm not entirely. Shame on me for not knowing, but I'm not sure who actually won the Grammy for that.
Yeah, I mean.
But Cola was a really great record, and it came from the underground. It came from Defected Records. I mean, they're definitely a little bit more on the mainstream side when it comes to like dance music in the UK or in Europe, but. Mm-hmm. Just in the general scheme of things, like that's a phenomenal accomplishment for any dance music artist. I don't care who you are, whether it's like Flume or Tiesto or any of these guys. It makes me happy that this has become like a legitimate form of business, and people can actually like take you seriously as a businessman or businesswoman in this industry now. Because when I was growing up, people thought I was like out of my mind to even consider this as a career.
Yeah.
But I've always been a dreamer, you know, like I've always had these unrealistic expectations in life, and I never let anybody else tell me that it was impossible. Like it almost like makes me want to prove them that they're wrong even more when people tell me, "Oh, you can't do this," or whatever. It don't matter. You just fucking do it anyway.
Yeah, I agree. I always feel like it, like that's the kind of, like it, that kind of gives me fuel, and I think like, like I'm gonna like throw this back in their face, and then like you get and you achieve these goals, and you're like, oh, like I love this person. Like I don't resent them for not believing in me. Like I love them for not believing in me, because if they had believed in me, I might not be where I am today.
That's true. That's true. Well, yeah, like it's a double-edged sword, man. I mean, you know, sometimes it's all about how you interact with those people, what your attitude is like. Yeah. Attitude is so important, man. Like if you don't have a good attitude and you're not upbeat and lighthearted, if you let little things get to you, you're gonna have a rough time in life, man. You're
gonna be sitting in the comments for a long time.
It's gonna be a long, rough fucking time, man. Because like that's just inevitable. Things happen, and it really allows you to kind of just like grow and become stronger over time, because you're constantly being challenged and tested throughout your life, and it kind of weeds out the weak from the strong. You know, like. Massive success is only reserved for people that are really, really passionate and really hardworking. You know, like it takes like an extreme amount. Like guys like Conor McGregor are like a huge inspiration to me. Like not because I want to become an MMA fighter. Like I'm a martial artist. I understand the mentality behind like a fighter is, but he really took his passion for fighting and like took it to new heights that no other fighter has ever taken before.
Yeah.
So like when this was maybe about a year ago when he did the Floyd Mayweather fight and all that stuff. But even before that, he was just like the talk of MMA. Like I got back into watching MMA because of one guy, because of his character, his charisma, like his attitude. Like he was just unstoppable. I was like, I want to be him, but the Conor McGregor of the music industry. Like I saw him as like a guy very close to our age that's just like dominating his industry.
Yeah.
Like doesn't give a fuck what any of these people say around him. He's just like literally obsessed and focused to the point where like nothing means anything to him other than like attaining his goals. And I want to take that same kind of attitude and that focus into the music industry and really apply that, you know. And I haven't been able to do that yet until I move, that's when I think instinct and your will to survive really kind of comes out, because that's going to be on my mind 24/7. Music's already on my mind all day, every day. Mm-hmm. So now that I can kind of allow for some vacant room in my mind with not having to go to work and wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning every day, and be having to write emails and phone calls and all these things, it's just the amount of stress that goes into work in the day job that if you do not like, there's nothing wrong with having a day job. I don't want people to take it the wrong way. I think having a day job really helped me a lot. Like, if I didn't have my day job, I wouldn't have a routine like I do now. I wouldn't be getting up early in the morning. I wouldn't have money I wouldn't have the amount of money to invest into all these brands that I started, because I'm not making money off of Rawsome yet. We just started, and in any business you have to make a lot of sacrifices, a lot of investments before you start actually seeing your numbers in the green. Yeah. So for now, it's thankfully I had the day job to take that money and invest the proper amount of money into building my studio and putting money into the design work of the label and the websites and distribution and mastering engineers and all these things that play into entertainment lawyers and contracts. Ooh. There's just a ton of stuff that I had to learn just really quickly and try to kind of soak in as much as possible. But again, it goes back to the work ethic. It's if I didn't have the day job and I wouldn't have been able to start all that or start Spira or Rawsome, because I wouldn't have had the amount of money to get it off the ground.
I agree. And I always just feel my college self was just so lazy and just didn't know what the real world was, so I had to experience that in order to see and get some tips and just pull from it. So.
Yeah, honestly, that's it's really important that you do that kind of stuff,
So I guess we're pretty much almost out of time here.
Sure.
Guess my last question is just, if you had to do it all over again to get to this point, is there anything you would have done differently?
Absolutely not. Hell no. I'm one of those people that I don't place a lot of focus on the past. I think it's important to learn from the past, but it serves as just a reminder for me. It's something that I don't dwell on very much. So everything that's happened in my life, whether it's been good or bad, I just posted on my Instagram today or yesterday, and I have these random thoughts, because I sent out B to multiple record labels. I won't mention any names, but sent it out to multiple record labels, and they all rejected the record. So without that rejection, there wouldn't have been there wouldn't have been any reason to start my record label. But the fact that I had this opportunity, I said, turn the rejection into opportunity. Instead of seeing it as a failure, use that as a catapult to leverage yourself into something that maybe wouldn't have been possible without that. And that's exactly what happened. I wouldn't have had a hit record. If it was on another label, it wouldn't have built my label the way it's been. And
it might not even done anything.
Literally, it could have gone so many different ways. But like I said, it's I would not regret or do anything any differently, because it's all played a role into where I'm at now, and I'm gonna live the rest of my life like that, because ultimately that's how you get the best results out of your life, and that's how you achieve happiness, is by literally just living your life like that. So I'm really very fortunate that these people passed on that record, because if that wasn't the case, man, then I probably wouldn't be sitting here with you right now, and I probably wouldn't be moving to Ibiza, and my life wouldn't be taking this drastic of a change without that failure. So it's pretty interesting to think of it like that. So next time you fail, I'll just try to remember certain stories and experiences in your life that, if you're open to it, if you're not dwelling on these failures, and you're open to the possibility of the failure actually being a blessing in disguise or a silver lining, that's it. That's the key, is to like turn those failures into success stories, and or at least learn from them that your next attempt is at least failing better, you know, like at least I think it was Teeny that actually said something like that. I was like fail better or something like that. I forget.
Fail often, fail better.
Yeah, it's kind of like what Will Smith said too.
Yeah.
But it's very relevant, man, because like the music industry, you get so much rejection. Like I can't tell you how many tracks I've made over the years that just got like denied and denied and denied and denied. And it's like you said, you're like, all right, well, I'm gonna start my own thing then. And honestly, like those failures really set you up for, if you're strong enough to push through it. And that's the point, is to not get discouraged and just keep fighting for what you really believe in. Because if it is something that you really love and you believe in, then it's worth it. You know, you don't want to live life and regret saying, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that. That's
awesome.
Pretty much it, brother.
Let's end on that note. I think that's perfect.
Yeah.